Dealing with difficult people, it's one of those unavoidable challenges we all face, isn't it? Whether it's a colleague who thrives on conflict, a family member who knows just how to push your buttons, or even that friend who constantly turns every conversation into a power play, these interactions can drain you emotionally, mentally, and even physically. But what if I told you there's a way to turn these situations into opportunities, not just to survive them, but to handle them with a calm, controlled confidence that leaves you feeling empowered instead of defeated? Sound too good to be true? Trust me, it's not. In this video, we're cutting through the fluff and diving into pragmatic strategies that actually work. No cliches, no toxic positivity, just actionable tools to help you navigate even the most challenging personalities. So, if you're ready to stop wasting energy on unproductive battles and start reclaiming your peace, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have the clarity and confidence to handle any difficult person with grace and strategy. Let's get started. Number 1, the empathy checkmate. You know that one person who seems to live to test your patience, the one whose presence feels like they've been specifically placed in your life to ruin your mood. Yeah, we've all been there. Whether it's that coworker who always has something critical to say, the family member who thrives on drama, or even the stranger in the parking lot who finds a way to make a simple encounter feel like a battle, they're everywhere. But what if I told you there's a way to flip the script completely? A way to disarm their negativity without compromising your peace or dignity? Trust me, this works. It's called the empathy checkmate. Now, I know what you're thinking. Empathy? For them? Are you serious? Yes, I am. But this isn't about letting them walk all over you or giving in to their nonsense. It's about taking control of the situation by using empathy strategically. This isn't just about understanding them. It's about using that understanding as a tool. Imagine it like chess. You're anticipating their moves, staying one step ahead, and winning the game without them even realizing what's happening. Here's the deal. Difficult people often behave the way they do because they crave validation or control. They poke, prod, and push to get a reaction from you. But instead of reacting emotionally, you do something unexpected. You acknowledge their feelings. You say things like, "I see where you're coming from," or "That must have been tough for you." Sounds counterintuitive, right? But what you're doing here is lowering their defenses. You're not agreeing with them. You're simply creating a space where they feel less need to fight. And in that moment, you regain control of the conversation. Let me give you an example. A while back, I had a colleague who seemed to have made it their mission to find flaws in every project I worked on. No matter how hard I tried, there was always some nitpicking comment waiting for me. One day, after yet another critique, I decided to try something different. Instead of defending myself or brushing them off, I said, "I can tell you're really passionate about getting things right. I appreciate that." Their expression, pure confusion. They didn't know how to respond. Over time, the critiques became less frequent and more constructive. Why? Because they no longer saw me as an adversary. The beauty of this strategy is that it's not about them winning or you losing. It's about creating a dynamic where you control the narrative without escalating the conflict. It's empowering because you're choosing not to let their behavior dictate yours. You're reclaiming your peace while subtly guiding the interaction to a healthier place. And sure, it might feel a little strange at first, almost like a Jedi mind trick, but the results are worth it. This isn't about becoming a doormat. It's about mastering the art of response. It's about understanding that true strength lies not in overpowering someone, but in outsmarting them with grace. So the next time you're faced with a difficult person, remember this. Your empathy isn't a weakness. It's your secret weapon. Use it wisely. And when you see them stumble in their own game, you'll know you've achieved the ultimate win. Your space, your peace, and your dignity intact. Number 2, controlled confrontation. Let's face it, confrontation gets a bad rap. Just hearing the word makes most of us cringe. We picture awkward standoffs, raised voices, or that overwhelming feeling of, why did I even start this? But here's the truth. Avoiding confrontation doesn't make the problem go away. It just lets someone else's behavior keep walking all over your peace. Now, imagine if there was a way to confront someone without the drama. A way to stand your ground, hold your boundaries, and still walk away with your dignity intact. Sounds impossible? Trust me, it's not. Controlled confrontation is the game changer most of us didn't know we needed. You know the type of situation I'm talking about. That coworker who dumps their responsibilities on you, the friend who always cancels plans last minute, or the relative who just has to bring up that one embarrassing story every family gathering. You want to say something, but the thought of it makes your heart race, so you bite your tongue. We've all been there. The thing is, confrontation doesn't have to be about shouting or finger-pointing. It can be about calmness, control, and clarity. And that's where this strategy comes in. Here's how it works. Controlled confrontation is about addressing the issue directly, but in a way that keeps you cool, composed, and in control. Instead of letting your emotions take over, you use facts, firm language, and clear consequences. For instance, you don't say, "You're always so unreliable." Instead, you say, "When you cancel plans last minute, it throws off my schedule. If this keeps happening, I'll have to stop making plans altogether." See the difference? It's not an attack. It's a statement of fact paired with a boundary. Let me share a moment from my own life. A few months ago, I had a colleague who consistently missed deadlines on team projects, leaving the rest of us scrambling to pick up the slack. At first, I didn't say anything. I thought, maybe they're just going through a rough patch. But when it happened again and again, I knew I had to address it. So, I scheduled a one-on-one meeting. I kept my tone neutral and said, "I've noticed you've been missing deadlines and it's affecting the team's workflow. I want to understand if there's something going on and how we can work together to fix this." The response? They opened up about feeling overwhelmed with their workload. We came up with a plan to redistribute tasks, and things improved significantly. The best part? No arguments, no tension, just resolution. Controlled confrontation is empowering because it lets you reclaim your voice without losing your composure. It's about standing up for yourself in a way that's respectful yet assertive. It also shows the other person that while you're understanding, you're not a pushover. And let's be real, we all need a little more of that energy in our lives. Here's the thing. This strategy isn't about winning an argument or putting someone in their place. It's about protecting your space, your time, and your peace. It's about showing yourself and others that you deserve respect, not because you demand it loudly, but because you command it calmly. So, the next time you find yourself dreading a confrontation, remember this. The key is control. Keep your cool, speak your truth, and set your boundaries. That's real strength. That's controlled confrontation. Number 3, exit and influence. Sometimes the most powerful move in any interaction isn't about winning the argument, getting the last word, or even solving the issue in the moment. It's about knowing when to step away and let your absence do the talking. Sounds counterproductive, right? How can walking away possibly influence anything? But here's the kicker. Leaving a situation intentionally, with purpose, can often be more impactful than staying and engaging in endless back and forth. Trust me on this one. It's not giving up, it's leveling up. We've all been there. You're in a heated discussion, a frustrating meeting, or even just a pointless argument with someone who refuses to see your side. You can feel your patience slipping, and every word you say seems to bounce off a wall of stubbornness. You think, if I just explain myself better, they'll get it. But no matter how hard you try, the message isn't landing. Sound familiar? Now imagine instead of continuing to push, you calmly take a step back, end the conversation, and leave them to sit with your words. It's not avoidance. It's a deliberate exit that shifts the dynamic entirely. Exit and influence works because it leverages the psychological power of space and reflection. When you remove yourself from a situation, it forces the other person to think. Without your immediate presence, they're left with their own thoughts and, more importantly, your last statement. It's like planting a seed and walking away. You give it the room it needs to grow. Often, the silence you leave behind speaks louder than anything you could say in the moment. Let me give you a real-life example. A while ago, I had a friend who constantly turned every conversation into a debate. No matter the topic, movies, politics, or even where to grab dinner, they had to be right. One evening, after yet another exhausting argument, I decided to try something different. Mid-discussion, I simply said, "You know, I think we're going in circles here. I'll leave you to think about it," and I left the room. At first, they were shocked, but the next day they texted me, apologizing for their behavior. It turns out, without the heat of the moment, they realized how draining it was for both of us. That one exit changed how we communicated moving forward. The beauty of this strategy is that it's not about running away from conflict. It's about stepping away to create clarity for yourself and the other person. It's about showing them that your time, energy, and peace are too valuable to waste on unproductive interactions. And here's the thing, when you walk away with intention, you're not just leaving a conversation, you're leaving an impression. This approach is empowering because it puts you in control. You're no longer at the mercy of someone else's emotions or agenda. Instead, you're choosing how and when to engage on your terms. It's about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your power. Sure, it might feel uncomfortable at first. After all, we're wired to want immediate resolution. But sometimes, the best resolution comes from giving things time to settle. So, the next time you find yourself stuck in an unproductive situation, remember this: you don't have to fight to be heard. Sometimes the most impactful thing you can do is exit gracefully, leaving behind a lasting influence. Your presence is powerful, but your absence, when used wisely, can be even more so. Number 4, leverage the leash. Have you ever felt like someone was pulling all the strings, keeping you in check while they held all the control? It's frustrating, right? Like being tethered to a leash, unable to move freely while they dictate your next steps. Now here's the twist. What if I told you that the leash isn't necessarily a limitation? What if you could use it to your advantage? Stick with me. This isn't about rolling over or playing along. It's about taking that leash and flipping the power dynamic entirely. We've all had moments where someone's control felt suffocating. Maybe it's that micromanaging boss who insists on tracking your every move, or a friend who always seems to dictate the plans while you quietly go along. You feel trapped, like your choices aren't really yours. And naturally, the first instinct is to resist, to pull away hard and prove you're not going to be controlled. But here's the thing. Pulling away only tightens the leash. They sense your resistance and grip even harder. So, what's the alternative? Leverage the leash. Instead of yanking against it, lean into the tension just enough to redirect it. Picture a tug of war. When one side pulls hard, the other instinctively pulls harder. But if you release some of the tension, the opposing side stumbles, thrown off balance. This isn't about submission, it's about subtle redirection. By leaning into their control temporarily, you create openings to influence the situation in ways they don't expect. Let me give you an example. I once worked with a manager who was a notorious micromanager. Every task had to be reported, every decision double-checked, and it drove me, and everyone else, up the wall. My initial approach was to push back, to insist I didn't need that level of oversight. Guess what? It only made things worse. So I tried something different. Instead of resisting, I started over-communicating, deliberately but strategically. I'd send updates before they asked, share progress in a way that seemed like I was totally aligned with their style. And then, once they were comfortable with how I was handling things, I started suggesting changes, framing them in ways that appealed to their need for control. It worked. Gradually, they loosened their grip, trusting me more because I played their game first. By leaning into the leash, I was able to guide the dynamic to a place where I had more autonomy. The leash was still there, technically, but I was holding it now, not them. This strategy isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding and adapting. It's recognizing that control isn't always black and white. Sometimes the path to freedom involves walking through their system before you can shape it to work for you. It's about meeting people where they are, even if it feels uncomfortable at first, so you can guide the relationship or situation toward mutual respect and balance. And here's the empowering part. Leveraging the leash isn't about surrendering your power. It's about reclaiming it in a way that's subtle, smart, and ultimately satisfying. Instead of wasting energy fighting battles you can't win, you're choosing how to navigate the field. It's not about playing by their rules forever, it's about using their rules to create your own. So, the next time you feel the weight of that leash, don't fight it outright. Pause, assess, and figure out how you can use it to your advantage. Because sometimes, the most effective way to break free isn't to cut the leash, it's to turn it into your strength. Number 5. Mirroring mayhem. Ever noticed how quickly people can escalate a situation, like adding fuel to a fire that didn't even need to be lit? Here's the kicker. Sometimes the way we respond is the real spark. But what if I told you that you could take that spark and use it to diffuse the entire thing? Trust me, it's not as counterintuitive as it sounds. It's about mirroring. And no, I'm not talking about some cheesy self-help trick or a psychology class experiment. This is about creating a ripple effect of calm in the midst of chaos. We've all been there, right? Maybe it's that coworker who storms into a meeting, voice raised, throwing around complaints like confetti, or that friend who seems to always be in crisis mode, turning minor inconveniences into major dramas. You sit there thinking, how do I even respond to this without adding to the mess? It's a tough spot because our instincts often betray us. Either we match their intensity, which spirals into an argument, or we go silent, feeling like we've just lost control of the narrative. Neither works. Here's where mirroring comes into play, but not in the way you'd expect. Most people think mirroring means copying someone's behavior, but here's the twist. Instead of mirroring their emotion, mirror their need. Let me explain. When someone comes at you with anger, what they usually need isn't a fight. It's acknowledgement. By addressing their underlying need with calm confidence, you're mirroring what they're truly looking for, not the chaos they're projecting. Let me paint you a picture from my own life. I once had a project lead who was, let's say, intense. Every time something went wrong, they'd call me out publicly, their frustration on full display. My gut reaction was to either defend myself or shut down completely. Neither helped. So, one day, I tried something different. When they started another tirade, I listened without interruption, then calmly repeated back the core of their frustration, but without their emotion. Something like, I hear that you're upset because the deadline feels tight and you're worried it'll affect the outcome. Let's figure out how to fix this. Guess what? It worked. Their tone softened, and we actually had a productive conversation. By mirroring their need for acknowledgement, not their anger, I shifted the dynamic. It wasn't about letting them win, it was about steering the energy in a direction that served both of us. Now, you might be thinking, isn't this just letting people off the hook? Not at all. Mirroring isn't about excusing bad behavior, it's about breaking the cycle of escalation. When you meet chaos with calm and understanding, you hold your ground without adding to the mayhem. And honestly, it feels powerful. It's like watching a storm dissipate because you didn't feed it more clouds. This isn't just about dealing with others, it's about protecting your peace. Mirroring the need, not the emotion, allows you to stay in control of your own reactions. You're not giving up your dignity, you're reclaiming it in the most strategic way possible. You're saying, I see what you need, and I'll meet you there, but on my terms. So next time someone brings the mayhem, pause. Look past the surface and ask yourself, what do they really need here? Then mirror that need with a steady, composed response. It's not just a strategy, it's a game changer for your relationships, your energy, and your sense of self. And remember, your calm is contagious. Use it wisely. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this video gave you some practical insights and strategies for dealing with difficult people in a way that leaves you feeling empowered and in control. If you found this video helpful, please take a moment to hit that like button. It really helps us reach more people who might need this kind of support. And if you're interested in more content on navigating life's challenges with a pragmatic approach, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Know someone who could use these strategies? Share this video with them. It could make a huge difference in their day. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Share your thoughts, experiences, or even your own strategies for dealing with difficult people. Let's learn from each other and create a space where we can all grow together. Remember, reclaiming your peace and dignity isn't just possible, it's powerful. You deserve to approach every interaction with confidence and clarity. Until next time, take care, stay strong, and keep choosing what works for you. See you in the next video.